chatters. Good to see Manda and Pat already in the chat. Yes, the bars were not intentional. I'll introduce you, Kevon, once we go live on video.
Sure.
Hello, hello.
Hey, Manda.
And yeah, as we're showing screens, obviously, Kevon, we'll have a little 2-second or so lag with Twitch, but I think for the stuff that we're showing, that should be fine. Hello, Patrick. Good to see you. We'll just wait another moment, and then we'll switch over to video.
Toriano, good to see you, sir.
Hey, Toriano. Yeah, sorry we weren't on last night. Hey, Jerry. No, you're not first, my friend. You're close, but not first. Yeah, we had 3 players go down yesterday. That's the first time that's ever happened for Greyhawk Awakening, and hopefully the last time. Even with 2 players, I was going to run last night. I had everything all lined up. I kind of shifted the story around, and then like an hour before we went live, timing chain busted on one of the players' cars, and they had to have it towed. So it was just, hey, Jeff. So yeah, it was just one of those nights last night. I was not meant to stream, I guess. Well, thank you, Somber Seal, for joining us. Hey, Jason, how are you? Jason, I sent you a Discord message if you didn't see that pop in there. We got a couple first-time chatters. I'm wondering if these might be some of Key's folks.
I see Laserman over there.
Yeah, I figured you'd recognize some of these names because I see a couple in here already I don't know. Hello, Laserman. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to click over on video here in just a couple of seconds.
Here, let me move this over here, actually.
That's a handsome-looking background you got there, Rob.
I'm mighty fond of it.
Hello, hello.
I should like move aside so that Key can see the rest of it.
Yeah, I think he's seen the logo. But did you see how?
The wrong way.
I don't know if you saw it. In fact, I'm gonna bust his chops here in a second, but I'm gonna wait till we go live on video because there's something real interesting that just happened there. All right, so I'm gonna click us over to video in 3, 2, and 1. Hello and welcome to Blue Box. This is Loremaster's Arcanum, episode 105. Yes, we've been doing this for a while, and I am joined tonight by fantastic guests. This is Kevon, also goes by Key, but you can call him Sensei. This is Sensei Suplex, and we're so glad to have you on with us tonight, Key.
Hey, glad to be here. Glad to be here. Hello, everybody. Hope to basically be able to show a little bit insight into my story, Project Aurora, all the little sides of D&D, professional DMing, and all the sort of wackiness that we come up with tonight.
Absolutely, and you heard him right. Professional dungeon master. I am not worthy, but that'll be fun to talk through. Thanks for all the folks that are popping into chat. We got some of his folks. I know he's had this out on Twitter and his very active Discord for a couple of days. And then, as always, tonight we're joined by my right hand, Robert here, also known as Robert the Ever Mistaken, also Robert the Ever Generous. And Rob, good to have you with us tonight.
Good to have you. Good to be here, John. You know, I'm glad to be here to support you in your doterage as your aging process just keeps going.
Yeah, absolutely. Despite the fact there's just a matter of weeks between our ages, and my mental acuity outstrips yours by miles on every session, I guess that's okay. Thank you for being in the chat. Yeah. All right, go ahead. I'll let you respond. It's not fair for me to talk over you. Go ahead.
No. I don't want to, be taking advantage of
the elderly. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. All right. So we're going to get started here in just a moment. We got a lot of questions, but I've got to come back and I saw this, Key. So earlier I was talking to Robert and I was telling him how handsome his background was. And when I said the word, man, that's handsome, your head snapped up like you knew that was coming to you. That was like, this is a man who's been told he's handsome. When he heard that word, he knew it was coming to him. Like,
it's more so like I'm annoyed at it because it's not true at all.
Oh, stop. So the false humility too. Love it.
My entire life and all that stuff. No, nothing.
Not feeling it.
Not a single thing. I start streaming on Twitch. Everybody's joking. Everybody's throwing little memes or whatever. It's like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. At some point, at a certain point, you just really start embracing the joke, or the joke just gets even worse.
That's it. You gotta roll with it. Hey, everybody in the chat, good to see you, Josh. Good to see you, Fraley, Jeff, Tracy, and then some new folks as well. So just a couple of quick reminders, and then we're going to dive right into the interview questions tonight. It's going to be a fun conversation. I can tell already. It's great when you got a guest who is ready to jump and run with the mic. I can see it already in you, Keith. That's awesome. We do have up on the screen right now our Greyhawk Mega Stream fundraiser. This is going to be our third annual event. Lord Gazumba, Jay, my good friend, organized everything. He and I have done this together along with many of these other streamers. I think I counted 11 or 12 or something like that. They're going to be streaming over that weekend. And we have together raised over $30,000 in the first 2 years for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Honestly, one of the best charities that you could be involved with. And so we're going to be doing it for the third time this year, rather. And we're thinking we're going to exceed what we did last year, which was just over $20,000. And we've got a fantastic lineup. This year's theme is Legends. So we have legends from D&D, people who are part of the old TSR. We've got Ed Greenwood. You got Eric Mona, who is now, of course, the founder and head of Paizo. I've got Richard Baker playing in my game. If you Google Richard Baker, New York Times bestseller, built the Sorcerer class, created the feat for Smite Evil, created the feat for Barbarian Rage. This guy's a legend. He's going to be playing in my game on Friday night, and it's going to be all weekend long. So mark your calendar for that. And you're going to want to be part of that. And everything that we raise, Key, this is kind of cool. We use a system called Tiltify. If you've not used that before, it's a plugin.
A little bit.
Yeah, it's an easy plugin in Twitch. And what it does is every single dollar goes straight to that charity. It does not pass through me. It does not pass through Jay or the streamers. It goes straight to the charity. And that's what we'll be doing that weekend. So we'll talk more about some upcoming events. But Key, let's go ahead and let's start with our first question for you. And let's start at the top. How did you get started playing D&D? Like, what were some of your early experiences?
Yeah, oh man, I love telling this story and such. So so a lot of people will, like, nowadays they'll sort of say like, oh my gosh, Sensei, you're such an amazing DM, and I'm like, no, I'm really not. I'm not. I always say that I always have a fantastic group of players that can really sort of be able to enhance the likes of the game table, right? But how did I sort of begin? Well, it starts off not too long ago, only about 4 years. About 4 years back. And so I'm a younger guy. So basically, this is freshman year of college.
What are you saying? What are you saying? You're a younger guy. Is there a point you're making there, Key?
Well, no, we're not reliving nerdarchy again. God.
All my bones just creaked. Everything just.
No.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to knock you off your rhythm. Continue.
No, you're good. I love it. But no, I mean it because a lot of people, they're like, oh man, you've been DMing for like 10 years. I'm like, no, I DM'd for like 3 or 4. That's it. You know. So about 4 years ago, I was always the guy who was like, I was a big nerd. Like, I loved watching like anime. I was heavily into video games. I actually come from a family that's really into gaming, so I was lucky enough to have that. But we're just a bunch of nerds in general, right? But there was one thing that I never ever really wanted to sort of get into. It wasn't for any reason. It was more so like, oh, I want to be like a cool kid, and it was like, oh. Dungeons and Dragons. Oh no! Whoa! Nerds play that game. I don't want to be a nerd. Like, I want to have be a cool guy and have some friends. Even though, again, watching anime, reading comics, playing video games. Like,
but you drew the line there. D&D.
Exactly. Like no, not happening. So we fast forward a little bit, and it's like. So it's freshman year of college, but it's a random Thursday night. Nothing's going on. We have class in tomorrow in the morning or whatever. Everybody's bored out of their mind just today, right? And my roommate Dylan, he hits me up and says, "Hey, Key. So I met this guy or whatever, and they were gonna say, hey, we're gonna play some Dungeons and Dragons. We got nothing better to do. You down?" And I'm like, ugh. Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know if I can do that. I think I'll watch. Yeah, I'll watch. So I go down to the door, or the little makeshift little office thing that we had, and they have like stacks of books, and I'm like, oh my gosh, these guys are some turbo nerds or something. It's ridiculous. Like, I was that guy or whatever, right?
I feel attacked.
But it was really interesting though, regardless, even though I knew Dungeons and Dragons existed. I knew it was a thing, but I never knew how in depth or how engaged the community was. And this like really played a part into why I got so hooked into it. But I jumped in and I see like, oh, or the dungeon masters, they say, hey, so yeah, this is D&D, blah, blah, blah. Here's the D20, yada, yada. And yeah, you can really just do anything that you want. You can be whoever you want. You can be a friggin' awesome Viking warrior, or you can be Link from Legend of Zelda, or you can be a ninja, Spartan, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's really just up to your own imagination.
Right.
And I'm like, wait, you can just be anything? You can do whatever? Now, keep in mind, I'm a very creative guy. I like to draw. I like to do all this other stuff. And when I heard that, I was like, wait, all these books, these guys seem super invested. There's something I'm missing here. At that moment, I wasn't even like necessarily playing in the game. I sat down. I'm like, all right, get me in this. I want to see exactly what this is all about. Just right there. I didn't roll a single dice. I didn't jump into my own first adventure. It was just more so that character creation, that bit of creativity that you can really sort of shine with TTRPGs in general. You know,
right?
That was it for me. That was the whole thing for me that really sold it, and then everything else was the icing on the cake, you know. And I always say this, I think that TTRPGs in general, there's something for everyone. You just got to be willing to find it, you know.
Yeah.
And hey, if I would have kept going on with that little mindset, not being open of like playing TTRPGs, hey, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. We wouldn't have Project Aurora, and so many people wouldn't have met each other, and it's just crazy to sort of look back onto it. But I'm super glad it did.
So how long after that time did it take for you to jump into the DM's chair?
4 sessions. 3 to 4 sessions, because I was
that's quick.
Yeah, so this is how, like, when I get like into stuff or like engaged into things, I get very much engaged. My mom makes fun of me about it all the time. So it was 3 or 4 sessions, and I'm over here. I have my laptop, my notebook, I got my little glasses, I'm ready to go. Like, I'm super hooked into the game. Like, obviously, like, my DM said, hey, if you're really interested in D&D, you can watch Critical Role and all that stuff. I'm like, I don't care about Thursday night. I'm ready for Wednesday night.
Let's go. Yes, sir.
You know? So eventually it was the day after a game, and I'm like, oh man, that was an awesome session. I want to play some more. Play some more. And I talked to my roommate Dylan and my other like co-roommate Eric, and I'm like, hey, you want to just play some more D&D? Like, I don't know how to do it. We're just going to figure out the rules, because like we barely know the rules anyways. But I'm like, yeah, we'll make it up. Forget it. Who cares?
Right.
And that's exactly what we did. They went to go grab some food. We got brought it back, and then we just hoped for the best. And that was the worst session I ever ran in my life. But it was very much a learning experience, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and you're exactly right, Short Mom. It does sound familiar. And, you know, when he says food, we all understand that means the staple baptismal food of D&D, which is Mountain Dew pizza and Doritos. That is considered food in most quarters. We will get some questions as we go that will be sort of out of sequence with the story. And I like this question that came up earlier. I believe it was Flores that asked the question. If you had to remove one class from D&D 5e, what would that be? And I did like Pat 66's response, which was upper management at WotC. That's a great class to remove. But if you had to remove any class from D&D, I'll let Robert and Key answer. What would it be? You have to.
I gotta look this up. Hold on.
All right, we'll go to you while he's looking it up, Robert.
D&D.
Yeah, 5e. You got to remove a class from 5e. What would it be? Pizza and Coke for you, Jeff? Yeah. Pat, your son said paladins? What are you doing to that child? Raise him right.
No.
That is the one that must be left.
Off. He might not be far off. I don't know.
Honestly, I'd almost go sorcerers.
I prefer crunchy stuff to irritate the DM. Sorry, Rob, go ahead.
Well, I'm artificer. To me, that's a very. I don't consider that a genre. That to me, that's for like a very specific type of game.
But it's a 5e class. It's a 5e class.
5e class.
Yeah.
I guess so. I mean, yeah, artificer probably.
Artificer. It's so yes, absolutely. Artificer gone.
I mean, but there are types of games like if you're playing in Eberron, Artificer works perfectly in that world. It fits. It fits the thing. I'm just not a big fan of sorcerer because it's kind of like not a warlock, not a mage, somewhere in between. I mean, it's got some interesting spell usage, but it's kind of like just a different type of mage.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I think that's just another great example of you being dead wrong. Key, what would your answer be?
So I was thinking about it. I mean, hey, I might be dead wrong in a lot of people's eyes in just 2 seconds. I was looking at it and I was like, you know what? I think Paladin actually might be the one to go, but here's why. So I think all of each of the classes, they have their own little specific niche. But paladins are very much similar to clerics and fighters in that, so as the whole point of it is kind of mix and match the classes, right? So I was like, okay, well, if we get rid of paladin, you still have the cleric, and you can still be a melee cleric, so that fixes that. But if you really want to play a person who's all about front loading damage through melee attacks, then yeah, you can just go a fighter and just, I don't know, worship a god or bound yourself to a bunch of.
Hey everybody! So thank you so much for joining our 15-minute interview of Kevon. It's been great having you on with us tonight, Key. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Blue Box will be back next.
Listen, there's a time where I would have argued that to all hell, but because Paladin, don't be alarmed. John and I actually are both very big high on Paladins. I am not a fan of the 5e Paladin.
No, if I were playing 5e, I would agree with Kevon. Yeah.
The 5e Paladin is not. I mean, they should rename the class because it's not a Paladin.
It's not a Paladin.
They took. I mean, if you want to have it as a different name, sure, whatever, but it's like it's completely different from what came before. It doesn't feel like a paladin anymore, and you're right. The cleric is almost at the point where you can do most of the things that your standard paladin used to do. It's just the problem is you're fighting on a different combat level because you're going to have less hit points and everything else is going to hit harder. But so it's
my bad. I do want to preface that I've only played so many TTRPGs within those couple of years. I've only played really 5e. That's my main big thing.
That's fine.
I played like Call of Cthulhu once at a con, and I played Pathfinder if you count the video games. That's really it.
All right.
So
Wrath of the Righteous?
Did you play Wrath of the Righteous or Kingmaker? Okay.
Wrath of the Righteous, yeah. So keep
I've started. It's actually pretty good. Yeah.
It is. All right, so let's come back to your story. So you start DMing, and you're playing. Tell me about maybe just one experience early in your gaming career. Hang on, I just noticed I'm slightly off center here. I'll fix that. Early on in your gaming career that kind of hooked you. So you sat at the table, you got the idea of it, you started DMing, but maybe some early campaigns, early characters that you fell in love with, something that really kind of hooked you in.
So I guess there's probably a different answer for it. Is it a player perspective or a dungeon master?
Either one.
So I guess from a player perspective, I'll try to keep both quick. From a player perspective, this was in that first campaign that I was playing in, and this is I think this is maybe like 6, 7, 8 sessions down the line. We're playing Lost Mines of Phandelver, as typical by a lot of people who started with 5e.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a certain point where I made a character who was kind of like a ripoff of Geralt of Rivia. I convinced the DM because I really love the element of lightning and said, hey, can I play a lightning genasi monster hunter thing? And they were like, sure, whatever, go for it. Sounds awesome to me. And their whole thing was they were kind of like deathly afraid of dragons. Specifically be like dragons because they had attacked their home, blah, 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 blah. Tragic backstory here. And one of the party members, they had been concealing their whole race, and turns out they were actually dragonborn. And when my character realized this, they're like, oh my gosh, and all that. But what ended up happening is we end up having a awesome sort of role play sequence where we're able to sort of exchange like, oh, okay, so this is my story and this is what I feel about this way, and this is your story, this is how you feel about certain things. And we were really able to show, or this was a eye-opening experience of the sort of depth and sort of how people can create their characters and how we can sort of weave and tell stories together in a way that's not really ever seen before in any type of media, whether it's movies, video games. None of it's like exactly how TTRPGs do it. And for me, that was the moment I was like, I'm gonna probably be playing this game for a long time. You know, this isn't just gonna be a quick little 2-month extravaganza and then that's it. Nah, and here we are. I think it was that moment for me. I
love that, Key, and I'll tell you, it's something that my fans have heard me say. Members of our community have all talked about this. That I call this the game of endless wonder. I'm not a guy who likes to rewatch the same movie over and over again. I'll reread certain series maybe once or twice, but I get bored with the same thing. I won't play the same game. I won't listen to the same. Okay, but D&D, I've been doing this now for 40 plus years, and I still keep coming back to this game because the stories are always different. The characters are always different. The experiences are ever new, ever fresh, and ever full of wonder.
My mom will always say, like, aren't you sick of playing that game already? Like, aren't you tired of rolling the dice? Like, it's only 20 sides or whatever. I'm like, Mom, you don't understand. It's always different no matter what. But it's great. It truly is something special. Which is why I always emphasize, like, hey, if you haven't tried any TTRPG out, just whatever, just give it a shot. It's what at most you lose like maybe 4 hours of your life or 3 hours or however long you play, and then you never have to touch it again. But at least give it a shot. You never know where this can sort of take you, because I don't want to say this as in like, oh, this will 100% happen to you, nothing like that. But literally, I have a Discord community of like 1,000+ people. We've been able to meet the individuals there, have been able to meet each other in person, in real life, hang out and become actual best friends. Some people have gotten into relationships over D&D and in general. And a lot of that stuff wouldn't have happened if I wouldn't have took that leap and jumped in and, saw what it was all about. And that could be used. So just, hey, give it a shot. You never know what'll happen.
Yeah, bravo, well said. And it's funny you mentioned that, because we have our 3rd annual Blue Box Con coming up here in just a bit, and it's been very much the same thing. People that get together, build relationships, and it has really been a fun thing to see as that has grown.
And it all started on a dare.
It did. The con started on a dare. Go ahead and talk about that, Robert. A lot of people don't know that.
So John kept saying basically he would talking channel. It's like, you show up at my doorstep, we'll play some games. I was like, John, you don't understand. I will drive the 900 miles to your house and show up on your doorstep.
What I didn't know is he doesn't just drive the 400 miles. He packs people in his car and drives them down here.
One way.
Yeah. But okay, so we've got some other great stuff in the chat. This is from your guy, Laserman. Or actually, I got to say Lasermain. He said, what has been a memorable moment in a game where a player has outsmarted you or surprised you? I think maybe maybe he's thinking of himself at some point, or.
Oh man, I got to think about that.
We'll give you a minute. That's a tough one. While you're thinking about
one thing, surprise is a whole nother, because I got a lot of stories about that.
Sure. I think what they mean, like, at least I'm guessing what do you mean. Most DMs have had this. I've certainly had it many times, where you think there is maybe 2 or 3 ways to get out of a situation, and then the players come up with something that you never imagined, and as a DM you have to go with that because it makes sense and it works.
Yeah. Oh man, I think that just happens like literally almost every single session. There's always that sort of thing of like, yeah, sure, it's cool that you get to do the thing that I prepared and all that, but ultimately having a player being able to just sort of be like, hey, but what about this little thing? And I'm like, wait, I didn't think about that. Yeah, sure, that's awesome. You know what? Heck yeah, I'll give you inspiration because I didn't think about that beforehand, and that sounds like a cool, like, awesome idea. Go for it.
Yeah.
Those sort of moments are just awesome, and they happen so frequently because I never. Again, it's a sort of collaborative storytelling, and it never really just should be one-sided in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, well said.
I probably can't think of a way how a player like outsmarted me just off the top of my head for some reason, but I can tell you just a way like how a player sort of surprised me. One way I like telling the story, I'll try to keep it very, very brief.
No, we got time. Take your time.
So I was starting a little campaign. It was called The Serpent's Call, and I know some people maybe who've been in Project Aurora for a long time, they're like, oh god, here we go with this story. Not again. So we're starting this little awesome campaign. I started level 5, and it was based off of Tomb of Annihilation. Now we'll talk more about PA in general, but this wasn't the only group trying to complete the Tomb of Annihilation module at the same time. This was a little supplementary group, and they were getting ready to sail to the island of Chol, because I wanted to do a little bit of a homebrew beginning and start to the campaign. I try to do that every single time, and it always ends up making me make it a homebrew campaign instead of a module. That's another rant for another day. But, so they're sailing out to Chol, and I'm like, okay, cool. You know what? I haven't been able to run this before. What if we have a dragon like attack the likes of this boat? I'm not talking like this is going to be a whole boss battle, but more so this dragon, they have one major goal. They have to basically go in, they have to grab the specific individual, specifically the captain, and they need to sort of fly away. We'll reveal a little bit more later on why they need to grab the captain. All right, cool, fantastic. Should be an easy snatch and grab. I was wrong. so very wrong. So the dragon comes in, everybody's freaking out like, oh my gosh, there's a dragon and we're like level 5. Oh, Key, what are you doing? You're trying to kill us and stuff. And one of my players, Jay, he's playing a hobgoblin rogue, and he's like, wait, I got an idea. It's brilliant. There's no way this will never like not fail. So they're on a pirate ship, and he's like, oh, Key, is there any like barrels of gunpowder on the ship? I'm like, yeah, there's plenty. There's a pirate ship, of course there are. He grabs it. He's like, okay, cool. I'm gonna place it on the middle of the in the middle of the ship, right below the dragon, because the dragon's on top. Players are one floor below. You with me? So he lines it up, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna light the gunpowder on fire and make a big old explosion, and I'm gonna trap the dragon inside, sink him down one lower level. And I'm like, wait, something's not adding up here. I'm not, wait a minute. He's like, no. Trust me. I have a couple of NPCs try to stop. I'm like, no, what are you doing? Stop that. No. If you do that, you're going to cause a chain reaction and blow up the entire ship and everything, because there's gunpowder everywhere. And he's like, he looks at me, John, and he's like, hey, that's tragic. And he lights it anyway. Lights up the entire ship, all the pirates on it, the other enemy pirate ship that they were being attacked by, and the dragon takes like 100 points of damage. But you know, because it's a dragon,
yeah,
they're fine, and they just fly up and fly away.
Yeah.
He's like, oh no, I didn't think this through. Like, no, you really didn't. So my first session for this campaign ended in a near TPK. Because all of them failed their saves. They all completely got obliterated. So I had to figure out a way, okay, like, how are we going to save this campaign? I figured it out second session. I kind of made it where it was like, instead of you guys instantly dying, it's more so you guys are fighting and struggling for your life. So I role-played each and everybody's death scene, or death saving scenes, where they could try to fight their way and get advantage on their death save and then go from there. And it was a huge little awesome roleplay moment to also sort of show everybody's backstories and major goals for that little campaign.
No, I love that. And I would love that moment. Tragic.
That's one of my favorite moments.
That sounds like a great player. I'd love to have that player. All right, so we had a couple other questions in the chat. One that I didn't see get pinned earlier, but I thought was a good one. So you go back to your early days. Do you remember the first PC that died on your watch as a DM? Notice the way I phrased that. I did not say the first PC you killed. The first PC that died on your watch as a DM, and how did the player react to it, and how did you react to it?
Oh, man. Well, you remember how I said that was my worst session I ever ran in my life? That one.
Oh, okay.
I TPK'd my party.
Oh, okay.
So there's a learning experience from this. There's a very much a learning experience. So, let's rewind the clock a little bit. That day where I was saying, hey, you guys want to play some D&D? So I didn't know anything about like Lost Mines of Phandelver. I just tried to base it off of my Dungeon Master's world with my little pea brain sort of interpretation. And so I was like, okay, let's run this little adventure. I'm going to make a couple things, but I was a very, very ambitious first time DM. I mean, like really, really ambitious. I think every first time DM is actually very much ambitious to a degree. I'm like, okay, cool. They're going through this whole dungeon, blah, 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 blah. And eventually I'm like, oh, I got an idea. So for Lost Mines of Phandelver, let's reenact the Clarg fight. Clarg the Bugbear fight. Yeah, that'll be a great idea. We can have a little awesome boss fight. But wait, no. Actually, because I didn't know this. I didn't know anything about CR. I didn't know anything really about monsters. I didn't think that Clarg was a Bugbear. In my little pea brain, I thought Clarg was an ogre. And if you know anything about CR, those are two different things.
You know anything about CR? Yeah, I guess so.
And these guys are level 1, and I'm like, wait, no, wait. This is my first time DMing. I gotta, really hit it out of the park. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add, like, what if we could have it where the mine they're in is collapsing and stuff like that, and every round they have to make a save or get crushed or whatever by boulders or something like that. So I introduced lair actions without knowing what lair actions were. And I was like, oh wait, but this guy's only one person and there's 2 of them, so he has to be able to sort of take multiple initiatives. I introduced legendary actions without knowing what legendary actions were, and you can easily see how I TPK'd them.
Absolutely.
Very much and very fast.
powerful bugbear ever.
But you know what? That just shows you were look, anyone that begins their DMing career with a TPK has shown such promise and really does belong here among friends at Blue Box because we honor, sir, we salute you. Well done.
I want to be here.
John's graduated from killing, his PCs to talking about killing his players, and we keep telling him that he needs to make sure that he has alibis.
I always get that mixed up. I do. I have a sinkhole here on my property, though. So did I say that on TV? Yeah. So let's go to a couple other quick questions, and we have to get to.
If I could,
sir, please.
Let me get to the moral of the story.
Oh, yeah.
So basically, at that point, I was like, okay, well, hey, the player, they were like, oh man, well, that sucks. He took it like extremely well. Like, I love Dylan. He took it extremely well. He's like, oh, all right, well, okay. And he just old school D&D, takes the character sheet, rips, and he was like perfectly fine with it. That is not how D&D, like how a lot of people sort of treat their characters nowadays. And such. Like, I've heard stories like back in the the older editions, people don't care if their PC dies. Like, whatever, I'll just make another one. Cool. And they just keep on going. But now when a player character dies, it's like, oh my god, which is understandable because obviously you put your heart and soul into it, right? But still, it's just it was funny. But the moral of the story is, I took that moment. I was like, oh man, I suck at running combat. I need to get better. So every single day, like after I started when I started DMing, I would constantly look into videos on how to DM, how to be a better dungeon master, and I found a lot of differing YouTube content creators in the D&D space, and they taught me exactly how to do it. But I constantly and consistently tried to keep improving until eventually I was more comfortable with it. And now, fast forward a couple of years later, and combat is one of my favorite things to run, as I'm constantly trying to figure out different ways to kind of make it more enhanced or interesting or unique, So.
No, I love that. And you popped in a little bit last week for our chat. Yeah. We're always, I've been that learner's attitude or that coachable spirit, that is always the hallmark of anyone that is truly successful in a craft. And as I said, I've been DMing this game for 40 something years now, and I'm always tweaking, changing, learning. That should be an ongoing process. Rob, any comments or thoughts you have on that? Because I know you've been DMing a long time as well, but I've seen you make changes in your games as well.
Yeah, I mean, I my combat and stuff tends to change based on the group that I have. Like I have some groups that really, honestly, combat is the one thing that they deal with it. It's not their favorite thing in the world. So I'd be descriptive to a point, but they really want to get through it and resolve it and get to the next thing. I've got groups that live for the combat, so those get definitely more energy. And then sometimes I've got large groups like my Friday night group where if I described every action in the combat with any great depth, we would be there for 15 hours.
Hey, well said. Well said. So we've crossed the streams. I wondered if this was going to happen tonight. So we have a Sensei Suplex, and just joined the chat now. We have Enoch, Sundown Sensei. So we have a Sensei battle, which I think is a good segue. Where does the Sensei piece come from? I see the bonsai tree behind you. Talk to us about, I'm assuming, a martial arts background.
Yeah. I don't have the black belt right now. I'm not going to go get it. But funny enough, I actually just got this for Christmas. My mom got me this because we love watching. Oh my gosh, I can't think of it. Not Karate Kid. The new thing.
Cobra Kai.
Why can't I think of it? Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai. Yes, sir.
I don't know why I couldn't think about it for some reason. But yeah, we love watching Cobra Kai, so she got me that as a little joke gift for Christmas.
That's awesome.
That's not. You're supposed to say yes. I've been neatly curating this for over a decade now, and
yes. I got this when I first came out of the womb, and I've been. I'm messing with you.
All right. So hey, before we carry on here, we do have to introduce you to a Blue Box thing here. We're going to give you a chance at the end of the stream to do it as well. So we always have a question that we ask, and particularly when we have guests, we have a lot of new, and several have already joined. But it goes like this. So pay attention because you'll have a chance to do it at the end. Okay. If you're watching tonight and you haven't given us a follow, or if you're a follower and you have not yet as subbed, or if you're a sub whose subscription has expired, say it's not so. Or if you're not in our Discord, enjoying all the goodness that we have there all week long to carry on these conversations and campaigns with amazing people, we have one question for you tonight. What are you doing? Come on, give us a follow. Give us a sub. We appreciate it. Thanks for all those that are from Key's community and have joined us already tonight. Some great questions, and we have another one from Laserman in a minute. But Key, I think you were going to say something. Go ahead.
That is amazing. Everybody in chat. Why can't I be that good? That is amazing. Oh my goodness. I love that. I really do. But no, I guess I was just going to continue saying about the whole Sensei Suplex story. But I mean, yeah, go for it. What were you trying to sort of carry on?
Well, no, so Laserman was asking if you could give one person in your life the ability of a D&D class, who would you give it to? And it cannot be you.
I guess it depends on what class, you know? Definitely depends on what class.
While you're thinking about that, Enoch Pratt Sundown Sensei said he was raised around martial arts and he teaches college sensei. Well, yeah, we know sensei means teacher. Yep.
Yeah. So, you know, because I know my mom is going to cause a lot of chaos. So she actually said that she wanted to do this. So she never played D&D. She just like looks at it and is like, oh, okay, they're playing with dice or whatever, cool, and all that stuff. She always said that she wanted to be a monk. For whatever reason, she made her own little character in the Aurora verse. She calls it Mama Mayhem instead of Sensei Suplex.
I love it.
That's awesome.
She's a Goliath monk, and she said this, not me. I want to be clear. She said this. She said she wants to be super, super powerful and have thighs that can crush people's heads. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
That is epic. You had better believe I would make that. That is fantastic. This monk with the thunder thighs that crushes skulls. That is fantastic.
So I made her a character. No, they haven't met her. This is a little bit of an Easter egg. They haven't met her in my recent campaign, but she's there somewhere. She's chilling on the mountaintops, just waiting for someone to challenge them. So, oh man,
that is fantastic.
She wants to be able to like do all the crazy little monk stuff. So yeah, I'm like, all right, you got it. You're my vote, Mom.
Yeah, you got to let moms do that. That's super fun. And then the key is you got to stream that because everybody would love that. All right, yeah, I see you, Tracy. Hello, thank you so much, everybody in the chat. New first-time chatter, Ticking Time Bomb Gaming. Welcome.
Yeah, it's Bob.
So they wonder, why do they call you the Crusher? Famous last words. Yes, exactly. All right, so let's talk now about this segue into becoming a professional game master. So when does that idea first come to you? Talk to us about that, and then maybe talk a little bit about the journey, including maybe mentors you've had along the way, anything at all you'd like to talk about that experience.
So I want to preface this story that, and I think it's actually true for everybody now that I think about it. My professional, like how I got started doing everything professionally, my journey is probably not going to be exactly like yours. Mm-hmm. Now, I think everybody's journey is different, but mine is more so very much weird. And I'm going to kind of break down every single thing of like, okay, I was lucky to have this might not be the case for you if someone in chat was trying to become a professional DM, right? So I'll try to make that clear. So my professional DMing thing, it wasn't really out of a want, it was more so out of a necessity. So let's fast forward a little bit, because we're, I think, late sophomore year or junior year of college, I can't remember. At some point, and obviously things are going on, and my mom is like, all right, I get it. Either A, you're gonna have to start paying some rent. Like, I get it.
Oh, that is such good timing. My son just jumped in the chat. Perfect timing.
That is amazing. All right, this is what I did. So my mom was like, oh, all right, son, I get it, but you're using up all the internet. You're using up all the sort of power because now you're home or whatever for the pandemic. You're going to have to start paying rent or something. And I'm like, Mom, I don't have anything. Well, you're going to have to get a job. So at this point, I'm running, I'm running 3 campaigns. I'm running, I think, Serpent's Call, Tomb of Annihilation, and a campaign called A Spirit's Journey, right? Maybe even a 4th one. I think a Pantheon Divide was going on. It was a lot. That's the TLDR, a lot. Mm-hmm. And I have to come to a sort of decision where either A, I'm going to have to do the harsh realization and be like, hey, I just don't have time, guys, to run these games. I'm going to have to go get a full-time job or whatever, and then cut these games in half, or maybe just have to stop doing D&D.
Sure.
I can do that. Or B, I can more so think about this. I can use a little bit of critical thinking skills. How can I be able to make money with D&D? And I'm already streaming it and all that. That's cool. But, streaming is such a very loosey-goosey sort of like way to be able to consistently get anything. And I'm streaming to like 4 people, which is great, but
Right.
that's not going to get the result that my mom is looking for, So I'm like, okay, well, I think I've heard something about like professional DMing or like people charging to pay for D&D, and that sounds very, very much weird. Why would anybody ever want to do that? And then I thought about it. It's a simple thing of, well, supply and demand is one thing. But also, if your skills or if you view your skills to be, well, good enough, then maybe you can be able to do it. And obviously, I did not think my skills were good enough in the least bit. That's what a lot of people or a lot of individuals who they may not have considered professional DMing, that's the sort of hurdle that they kind of have to get over. But in my little bit of experience, I think that here, let me try to figure out a way to sort of formulate this. There isn't, whenever it becomes like when it comes to game mastering, dungeon mastering, whatever, there's never like, oh, you've done this thing, so now you're a good dungeon master, or you're a good game master. There's nothing like that. And I say, if you can successfully run your D&D game or whatever game you're running, and your players enjoy it, they're having fun, they're having a great time, they're coming back to every single game or back to every single game session, they're loving it, they're invested, they're engaged, whatever. And if you can do that with multiple other groups, and in general, I think you've got it. I think that's really all it matters. I've always said the 2 ways to win TTRPGs is 1, you got to make sure everybody's having fun, and 2, you got to make sure that everybody's comfortable to express themselves. Because if you don't have the second one, then no one's going to have fun. You get those 2 things down, you're good to go. All right, that's what I've always said. And once I came to that little realization, I'm like, okay, well, even if I don't necessarily think that I'm good enough for this, I'm going to make sure I am good enough. I'm going to really, really focus. I'm going to try to hone my craft. I literally go back. We don't have books on it, like on like how to be a great dungeon master or whatever. So I go to YouTube, I Google it, I try to learn all these different techniques and tactics and more. How to sort of be more approachable, because obviously you have to sort of pick up players that you don't know about most of the time, right? So fast forward, I post a thing on D&D Beyond at the time, and I'm worried, I'm nervous, and literally the day after, I was so lucky, but a group of individuals, love them to death, they hit me up and they're like, hey, I saw this little post on D&D Beyond, we saw what you're sort of doing, we really want to support you and everything that you're doing. We have a group, we have an entire group, and they're all ready to play. Can we talk about it's time to sort of schedule this sort of game? And I lost my mind because it was such a surreal experience. I was like, people actually want to, like, these individuals, we know nothing about one another, not a single thing. Don't know what we look like, don't know our play style, none of that. And they want to play D&D with me, and I want to play D&D with them. And it was just awesome. It really just shows like how the game has changed over the years and such. So I hit them up, and it was awesome because I won't get too far into it, but it was also awesome being able to see people who are like me, with sort of my skin color, and being able to play Dungeons and Dragons with them. And a lot of people who look like me, they don't really play TTRPGs or let alone know what they are, right? So that was freaking awesome. And we get to session 0, I'm nervous as all heck. And after that, I just sit down, I breathe out. We're just here to play D&D. We're here to have a good time. So let's have a good time. And that's what basically started the whole journey. Fast forward, and I've DM'd that campaign. I'm still playing with those players to this day. They went from, if you actually, I don't know if you can change to it, but the little awesome poster with the little turtle with dreadlocks and stuff.
Sure. So I believe you're referring to, hold on here. Whoops, wrong one.
Yeah, that one. So that is the same group of individuals that I first started DMing for professionally. And that is the Voting Knights, VK as everybody likes to call them. But yeah, those are the first original players and their new player, and more. And they're freaking awesome. They're like the amount of engagement and support that they sort of have for me and just Project Aurora. It is something surreal. It truly is. I'm very much lucky to have that sort of thing, But so that's kind of how I got started DMing professionally. Now it's a little bit different because obviously, like I was saying before, they were able to sort of check my stuff out beforehand because I was already streaming it, already DM'd for multiple players, all that sort of craziness. So that might not be the case for you, and that's perfectly fine. What I would say is, I don't really want to give advice, but if I didn't have that platform beforehand, what I would probably do is I would try to get a little bit of experience. It doesn't have to be much, but just a little bit of experience of DMing for other groups outside of just my friends. Because if going back to what I was saying, if you can make sure that everybody has a good time, they're comfortable, yada yada yada, cool, you're good to go. You can sort of replicate that in more of a sense because now you're DMing for more people that you just don't know about. It's very, very rare. I have to do it, but that's a whole nother thing. It's very rare that you will ever have your friends as your clients. I hate using that word, but
sure.
Clients, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely important to sort of get used to meeting new people and sort of getting them engaged with the game, right?
Well, no, and I think that's you mentioned earlier, sort of developing your approachability, that student's mentality that you have to the game, which is ironic with your name. It's not really ironic. It's apropos is more the word I'm looking for. Sensei as teacher, but as most people will tell you, to be a great teacher, you must also be a great learner. And so that willingness to constantly engage in learning, I think does you in good service. And that's a fantastic story in terms of how you got started. And yeah, I mean, people are loving the art too. This is a super cool piece of art. There's a lot of comments in the chat. So this group was kind of your first one and it's still going. So today, you and I talked about this a little bit. I run here on Blue Box. I run two full-time campaigns. We have sunset 2 multi-year campaigns in the last year. Then I have a campaign that I kind of run off stream with my family, and then we do the LMAs. And so, also working a full-time job, that's a lot to keep track of and run in these large campaigns. When you're doing it full-time in the manner that you are, how do you organize your information? How do you keep track of the different things that you're running for these groups? What sort of tools or techniques do you use? Hey, thank you very much, Mike. We appreciate that. Thanks for the bits, my friend.
Well, I think the answer would be very carefully. But essentially, what I sort of do is I actually picked up a lot of these things from just conventions and more. Now, I've always yelled at it, but there's not really many tips or tricks. There's not like a YouTube channel dedicated out there like, hey, professional DMs are people who want to take their TTRPGs to the next level. This is a channel for you on how to get started, right? There isn't anything like that. I've looked. There's like maybe a video or two that's very, very dated. Mm-hmm. That's it. So what, oh my gosh. What I do for organizational skills is I try to work smarter, not harder. Most dungeon masters have this sort of case where, you may have had an encounter, but the players went a different route and now it's not used. And, what do you do now? Well, what I do is I take that encounter and I plop it to either another group, or I make it in further down the line in the same campaign, rework it a little bit, change a couple of things, but ultimately use it at the end of the day, right? I don't try to waste a lot of my time or work because there's very, very rare occasions where I make something and it just doesn't ever get used and it can't ever get used, right? I just always try to reuse stuff, or maybe try to, I don't want to say rehash it. That's a terrible way to sort of post it. But more so things that I can sort of pull upon from that I've learned over the years and just make it better. Just overall make it better.
Yeah. No, sorry, go ahead.
And the last thing, it works out well because when I reuse stuff from the past with how Project Aurora works, it's a living universe and such. I'm able to pull upon echoes of the past, and it's awesome for the players to be able to see like, oh wait, who are these names on the sort of wall? What's going on over here? And I'm like, oh yeah. Out of game, that's actually real players that mark their names in that wall, or whatever. They were in this dungeon that you guys are in right now, and they're like, "What? That's awesome! That's super cool!" And they love it. So it works out either way,
No, I love that. And that's, reusing certain elements of content, and that's a benefit that you'll have when you've been doing this for a couple of decades as well. You'll be able to look back, and there are things that I can still recall having, seen in a game 25 years ago that will fit contextually with a little bit of a tweak into, exactly. Time is all that is needed to make that video that you're talking about. But I think the other piece of it for me as a DM is keeping track of what has already been done contextually so that the world feels alive. Not even so much the pre-planning. I operate off of kind of a loose skeletal structure that allows for a lot of sandbox and player movement and changing the story, while there are still overarching meta themes that are sort of happening whether the players are doing anything about it or not. The sun's going to come up, the sun's going to go down, somebody's doing something somewhere they don't know about, right? But then like when they meet meet NPCs, when you tie threads together, having those contextual, so that I would almost liken it to a video game where you have persistency. When you drop, let's say you drop your axe in this one room and you come back a month later and that axe is still laying in that room because the database for the video game knows it's there. That kind of process, at least on the higher level stuff for the DMs. I've used different tools through, rely on memory a lot. If I'm just running one campaign, that's pretty darn easy, even over the years, to keep track of. I do find, streaming, ultimately, what I'm streaming probably 6, 7, 8 hours a week or so every week, and you do that for years and multiple campaigns, it gets a little tougher to keep track of that all just in your head. So I've used things like Trello, Excel spreadsheets. Of late, I've started using mind mapping systems. And there's a couple. There's MindNode. I like Knowledge Base. Knowledge Base has a really cool 3-dimensional effect that you can create, which just allows you to connect relationships. So for example, in Greyhawk Awakening, my Tuesday stream, we have 3 books. 2 of them have already been started. The 3rd one is going to be started here in a moment. And these books are both, they're all multi-year engagements. And there are relationships and threads that link between them. And so having ways to visualize, okay, wait a minute, this minion is associated with this group, which is ultimately backed by this entity, but also associated with this entity, and then when I can visualize it like that, it also gives me ideas for, oh, here's something cool, here's a neat connection. And so I think those kinds of tools for DMs that are running more than one game are really useful.
Yeah. For me, I use OneNote because I see a couple people asking in the chat. So OneNote is it's very, very useful because I can have all my D&D stuff in just one general location. I just separate like each campaign per notebook and all that. Because it has a little search feature, I can be like, oh, well, since I'm running in a living universe, I can just search for that name and I'll just find whatever I need, yada, yada, yada. All right.
Yeah.
That's the main big thing. I think another thing is that it's not a good answer, but I mean, it's just what the answer is. I often remember it because I remember the history of the games because I lived through said game. It's more so pulling upon those little memories of epic events that are happening. I can easily retell the entire story of the giant raid boss that we did with 16 players or 15 players 2 years ago because it was an awesome event and I lived it. I was there. I was the DM for it. I remember what the players were saying, how they were planning just random stuff in the background, how they were trying to formulate like football plans to sort of attack this boss and all this sort of craziness. I love it.
No, I couldn't agree more. I love that. And that is a great way to approach it. And I think for those big ones, that's less the struggle. For me, what I find is remembering, wait a minute, what was barmaid number 3's name in that tavern they were in 2 years ago, right? And then when I can have that kind of stuff at my fingertips, it helps me feel like I'm making the world more, contiguous, if you will. But no, I love your approach and I love your mentality to the gaming. And so now, without going into too much of your, you shared some of this with me, but so you use it's a Patreon system, right? So if you've got people that are joining you for gaming, it's not so much like on a per session, per hour basis. It's engaging for a campaign on a monthly basis, and that's kind of how it works for you and works for your players, right?
Right. So I actually learned that trick from Prodium Joe. He's a great friend of mine. He actually was the closest thing I would say to a mentor when it came to professional DMing in general. Hence the name Prodium Joey. All right, and he pitched the idea of Patreon, and I was like, wait, that makes a lot of sense because a lot of the time, I mean, everybody knows in D&D, the biggest bane to it is scheduling. People missing sessions, and then, oh man, a campaign gets dropped out, or not campaign, but the session drops out. We try to reschedule it, blah, 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 blah. Everybody knows about it, right? And his sort of solution was more so, think of it this way, especially in your sort of case, Key. You have a platform, you're streaming your games, you have however many hundred of people that are in the Discord, and some of them, because you have that sort of living universe thing where there's crossovers, cameos, raid bosses, there's a lot of people who want to jump into the game. So more so think about it this way and just be obviously clear. That is a big thing that you need to do when you are a professional DM, or just in general, if you're a DM at all. Be clear, be concise, and just try to be open. And
well said.
I was like, hey, when you are joining into this sort of game or this Patreon, you're not necessarily paying for just the game session itself. You're paying for me to hold your spot. Because obviously, if you're not making it to session after session, then you're also affecting the game and the players because they're down a person every single time, and that sucks. So I am holding that spot for you and not filling it up with somebody else because that was the position I'm in. Obviously, I know A lot of other people won't be in that position. That's perfectly fine. But that's kind of like why I end up doing that system.
No, I love that. I think that's a really smart way to handle it. And, you know, I've had kind of the flip side. I know that there are a lot of streamers out there that pay their players. Thank you again, E, for the gift subs. Robert, thank you for the gift sub to Lasermain. So, you know, I know a lot of streams will pay their players. And in fact, I've got somebody in my community that I had coffee with last month. And this individual told me that a fairly well-known stream, he was approaching them and they were talking about having him play on the stream. And they put the contract in front of him in order for him to be paid. And he said, I don't want to be paid. You know, I forget what it was, $50 a session or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I don't want to be paid. I want to play this because I love the game, not for. And they literally told him, you have to do this. We find that we don't keep the players engaged and consistent unless we're paying them.
True.
I have not found that to be the case at all. If you look at it, I think, like as you said, if you're a compelling DM and you're telling a great story and your people want to be at your table, now real life happens. We all know that. Like things will come up. But in general, I don't charge them, they don't charge me because that's the style of ecosystem that I have. But what you're doing, to me, is very much like an artist that does paintings and renderings and charges for it. We have mini painters that charge for that. And there's a lot of hours and time and effort that go into DMing that I think it absolutely does make sense. And candidly, Keon, you were born in the right time for that. If you went back to the late 70s, early 80s when I was, and well, to be comparable to your age, I would have been more like late 80s, early 90s, and you didn't have this level of popularity for the game. You didn't have these formats. So like to be a professional DM back then, it would have been like, you'd have been eating ramen every day, right?
Yeah.
But now you have these social mediums and with 5e in particular, and then some of the other items which have really changed the cultural understanding, things like Game of Thrones, all the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings movies, Stranger Things. We have so many heavy influences that have enlightened people's understanding of this fantasy genre that dude, you're living the frickin' dream right now to be able to do this as a living, and you're starting out as a young buck. Good for you, man.
So actually, and thank you, I appreciate that. I really do. Actually, I do want to sort of address the one thing of what you were saying with like the whole payment for places. I know a lot of people were like sort of like, that seems weird, and it does. I get it, I understand it, but I'll try to give you a little bit of insight onto it from my perspective. So I see where that group or that company is sort of coming from when they say players aren't as engaged unless we're paying them. This is true to a degree. This is definitely true. I've seen it in just at least my experience, not saying it's for everybody's experience, not saying that, I have to pay like, I don't know, Pat 66 in chat. In order for you to be engaged in my game, I got to give you $5. That's not the case, no. But from what I've seen a lot of the time in my games is that the level of commitment, the level of engagement and investment, just the way how it is for certain players, they're more so when they come in with a different mindset and mentality. They'll more so jump in where it's like, I'm just here to sort of play D&D and just have a fun time or whatever, I guess. And then I'm just going to have my fun my own sort of way. I'm not really super conscious because I'm not really losing anything out on this except for my time. And that's pretty much it. That's all I'm losing out on. But that added little thing of just, even if it's like $5, $10, or however much you're charging, that more so is like, wait. If something's going wrong in this game, I just lost, let's say $15 or whatever. Wait. I'm going to try to make sure that this is the experience that I actually want since I'm dropping money on it, And that's the bit of engagement or investment that they're kind of talking about. It's weird, but just from my own personal experience, I've seen it and it is true for me.
Yeah, I could definitely. I think that's a really good point, Kevon. If Robert had made it, I would disagree. But you made it much more cogently than he would have. I could definitely see that. I guess I would just speak from my experience. I have found that if you have, the players at the table that are the right players, and you're always looking for the right players, and right players doesn't mean necessarily a certain style. You also look for good mixes. I've compared player selection and integration to alchemy or baking. It's like a recipe. Somebody might be a great player at this table, but not a good fit for this other group of players. And so getting that right mix together, my experience has been when you have that right mix and you as a DM pour yourself into that game, then the players typically will respond. Now you'll get the casual players like my wife. She never had played before. She started playing. She's been playing for 10 years now. She still doesn't know any of the statistics, but she'll show up on Sundays. She'll role play like fantastically. Everyone loves watching her, but she does not know anything about the gaming system. Whereas if I've got people like, Thomas or Rory, or I've got many that are Rachel, Cameron, these people are poring over the books, learning the systems, constantly pinging me with questions, and they're invested. So I guess it's your mileage may vary, but yeah, I think that's really a good way to look at it. Go ahead, Rob.
I mean, there's another component to this too. Once you're talking about streams that are paying players, and we're talking those kind of dollars. I mean, I know streams, and I'm in a stream where we're getting paid because they want to share the money that's coming in, and it's fine. It's not. I mean, for me, it's not a big deal. I don't need it, don't care. But there comes a point where if they're large enough and they're looking to pay you $50 a session as a player, there's also, they talked about signing the contract. Well, there's also a level of expectation that comes. So you don't get at that point. Yes, you want to play, and you would hope that the player's always going to be engaged. But now you're getting paid to play in this game. We're expecting you to be on point when you're here. It's not, you can't have that, I'm just not feeling it tonight, guys. Let everybody else take over. No, this is a different thing. And it's not right, it's not wrong. It is, it's the way that they're running their stream, the way that
that's right. Yeah,
they're running their thing. And it's fine. I mean, and it works. I can understand why, maybe they didn't verbalize that part of it, but yeah, there's an expectation level that goes up. I mean, theoretically, if they weren't paying you, they could tell you, listen, we need you to bring a certain energy. I think the money helps amplify that idea that, you really need to bring, the things that you say you're bringing to the game.
I think that could definitely be the case. And it really it depends on the players too. You have some people that will just be invested, and they will, and when there is a sense of accountability, it's almost like an athletic team. You could have a high school football team. Those guys aren't getting paid, but they have a sense of obligation and loyalty to one another, and they know the weakest link in the chain always, is where the chain will break. And when you have really good role play groups that are committed, there is a sense of obligation, not even so much even to the DM at times, but as to the other players who are showing up and investing their time. And I think a lot of that also depends on sort of stage of life and where you're at. But I really want to get to Project Aurora. We have just about 30 minutes left, and I want to spend a lot of time on this. But thank you. The chat has been fantastic. So Blue Murphy said that's why he gets so annoyed watching Critical Role and the cast consistently forget basic class features or mechanics. Really, I don't watch Critical Role, so I didn't know that, but that's interesting. All right, so tell us about Project Aurora, and then, I've got all the slides that I've been kind of churning through them, but we can go to wherever you want to go and talk about this very exciting project that you've launched.
Yeah, I'm also free to, or willing to, answer any questions from chat regarding this. So, hey, if you have any questions, drop them down below. That's perfectly fine. So, what is Project Aurora? I guess I'll do the classic pitch that I always do at the end of the streams. Hey everybody, my name is Sensei Suplex. This is Project Aurora. It's basically a giant living MMORPG in the TTRPG space where we play Dungeons and Dragons, but in a very unique and strange way. All the campaigns that we play ran by me and several other dungeon masters. They can all affect each other in this massive sort of cinematic universe, kind of similar to the MCU. Essentially, we can have raids or raid bosses, crossovers, cameos, world events, you name it, in this really, really weird and wacky sort of way of experiencing Dungeons and Dragons. On top of that, it gets even crazier because you guys in chat can actually affect the sessions in real time, as everybody can leave their mark in this massive, massive universe. A couple of ways that you guys can leave your mark is you can either get involved by simple things or small things by giving out inspiration points through channel points, or giving out health potions, changing the weathers, or even creating your own gods and the divine in the universe. We've had several players do it, and we've actually had several players ascend to godhood, and now they're being worshipped by 20 other different characters. Other ways you can help affect the world is by getting involved with the world building and actually being involved and leaving your mark in that way, shape, or form. But the whole point is everybody forges their legacy on this little wacky universe of ours. And hey, how are you going to do it?
I love it.
Basically, the pitch of Project Aurora in a nutshell.
That is a fantastic pitch. I love that. And so what are we looking at here? These are what do we have here?
So the artist for that is October Sour Queen. You can find them on Twitter. I'll see if I can link them. So that was a little gift, an awesome little project that my players that for my current campaigns that they're running, they want to do a art poster and like an inspiration for the upcoming tournament arc that they're doing, and they want to do it kind of a little piece that's kind of based off of Super Smash Bros. And they had all their sort of characters in these little wacky little sort of art styles and such, as if they're getting ready to fight and more. So those are each of the characters from every last one of the campaigns that I'm running, including my own little character as well. So that, oh my gosh, they did such an awesome job on it.
No, it's super cool. Now, when you say your own little character, though, it was not lost on me. I think I tell me if I may have spotted you in this one. Am I onto something here?
No,
that's not you.
That's Jade. No.
Oh,
Jade is actually one of the. Oh my god, I love JB. JB was actually one of the players that they're freaking awesome. They had never played D&D before. They just heard about it. They just wanted to sort of hang out with their friends, and they went into it. I love DMing for new players. I really do. They just new players just bringing a new type of energy, and oh my gosh, it's so cool. But he fell in love with the game, loved it. Yeah, that's him.
That's awesome. Well, no, I just figured because he looks like he's the DM with all the power emanating from his hands. Very cool.
He said he wanted to be Doctor Strange. So I was like, hey, make him Doctor Strange.
I love it. So tell me about this. What are we looking at here?
So which one? Okay, so that little poster. Okay. So that is Voden Fables. That was the little many West Marches campaign series that I was running by myself. And this was actually drawn by Winter Lord, fantastic artist and good friend of mine. So she decided to draw all of the characters who were known as the Fable Rangers, and just drew them basically from like smallest to tallest, and just show all their different characters and personalities, as they were able to show off basically all the characters that were part of the little universe. They all, again, like a West Marches style, they're jumping in, so it's not like one single party. It could be just like 3 of these individuals for one game, 4 of these individuals for another, and it was just an awesome little experience.
Very cool.
Sure.
Well, I'm going to pull up the other one that you had asked, this one here that you'd asked that we zoom in on, and we can talk through that. But if you would, go ahead and pop links in to Project Aurora, because a couple of people have asked for it in the chat, and wherever you would want them to go. I don't know if that's just the Discord link. We also, if you didn't see it earlier, chatters, we have up on this screen. This is the recently launched Blue Box website. So that's www.blueboxrpg.com. And you can see here we have all of our different campaigns. You can drill into any of the campaigns. You see the campaign summary and write-up. You can see a link to the previous streams on YouTube here. You get a summary of each of the players. Each of the PCs that they're playing, a little bio for the PC and a bio for the player. You have all of our fan art galleries here where there's tons of it. And then sort of the sponsors and about us and all this good stuff you can find. And then in the chat, we're going to have a link. Let me see here. Sensei Suplex Discord link to Project Aurora right there above it. So you see it right there. If you want to check it out, it's a very active, very busy Discord, and it's a super cool community that you built there. So let's come back and tell me what we're looking at with this little piece here, where you've got Project Aurora and it says Tales of Celestia, What Remains of the Unknown, and all these little player icons.
Yeah, so those campaigns, so we got What Remains of the Unknown, Tales of Celestia. So those were campaigns that were either ongoing or campaigns that finished up not this year, but last year and such. So this was the little mini poster that we have for all the campaigns that kind of happened in 2022. We've had, I think, I want to say 30 to 40 campaigns total in history for Project Aurora. Not me running them exclusively, but multiple dungeon masters running them as well. And it's been awesome. So this is the next set. So we have, from what I can see, obviously it's going to be a delay, but the Rift's Embrace, that was ran by Animus. The Valor Beneath, that was ran by In. Project Kingmaker, Curse of Dread. Curse of Dread is actually one I'm in currently. I'm a little guy, Moon. He's the little blue token with the water.
Okay.
But lots of awesome campaigns. And that's what the whole premise of this is like. These are just more campaigns, and everybody is a single character in this campaign. But when you really look at it and you zoom out, and you just get to see the scope and size of Project Aurora. And this is only the scope of it in 2022. There's so much so many years of lore and history and so many diverse characters. This isn't even the NPCs, but it's an actual living world. You sort of go to another person in the world, and chances are it could be a PC from long, long ago that you can sort of interact with, and maybe one day you can kind of be that NPC that everybody's like, oh my gosh, I gotta go meet the legend of, I don't know, Billy. Sure, I know a terrible name, but like for the example, but like, oh man, we gotta go see the legend of Billy, whatever. And they go and see, and like, oh, it turns out it's a PC, which is awesome.
Yeah, no, that is really, really cool, and I love the way that this is all created and set up. I want to ask you about the vision and kind of why you got this started and how it maybe has either met and or exceeded your expectation. Before you answer that, though, I do want to respond. I didn't even catch this either. Thank you, Rob, for catching this. So Natasha and August, August goes by Larry Kingra. These are our friends from Iceland, very active mad chatters in almost every stream. And Natasha said, you went to an in-real-life group to make it past the character development in the first 2 sessions without fighting and destroying your stuff. They wrote in your book, destroyed the minis and terrain. And then you said you're pretty sure they took some other stuff and you're still missing 2 limited edition books. I am so sorry. They were friends of yours and they were jealous, I guess. I'm sorry. That is, I've heard of some bad experiences with early sessions, but that one is special. Mm-hmm. Very sorry about that. Yeah, no, I hate to hear it too. So yeah, can you talk to us about how the vision started and then where is it today compared to what your expectations were when you started?
I don't even know what my expectations were for it, to be honest, but let's start from the beginning. So why did I make Project Aurora? Well, I was angry and bored, and that is the story of my life. That is why I do a lot of things. I'm angry and I'm bored, and that's how I end up starting a new passions and hobbies. That's how I learned how to draw. I was angry and bored.
So you okay? Okay, hold on. That's the second time you brought that up. You know now I'm going to have to ask you. Can you show us something that you've drawn?
I don't know how I can show you, more so because I don't know what the format. I don't know if I can show you.
Drop it to me in Discord. I'll bring it up.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I'll tell you what. I'll drop the light novel I was going to draw, or I was going to make, and that's actually the reason why Project Aurora exists today. Here, I'll drop this. So I'm actually really, really proud of it.
Sorry, wrong button.
Boredom is definitely a powerful motivator. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, it is.
So this is a little poster of it's too powerful, says Discord. All right.
Or if you want to send me that, well, that's okay. I don't. All right.
No. I got it. So I guess while you're pulling that up, I can explain the story. So fast forward, or actually rewind the clock to 2020. Everybody's inside, indoors, and everybody's angry or upset, or however you were. And at this point, I mean, because I was really getting involved in college because I was a very shy guy, and then I finally was able to make a bunch of friends. I was able to start playing D&D on the weekends. It was great. Everything was super, super great. All that came crumbling down. And I'm like, man, I have so much free time now because I'm not hanging out with my friends. What do? I mean, I really enjoy D&D, and I've been trying to do this little drawing thing, but I mean, just as fun. And eventually, I'm like, you know what? Let's do something weird. Let's do something crazy. Let's make a light novel. Let's write. I like writing because I do D&D, makes sense. I like drawing because I like to draw my D&D characters. So what I ended up doing is I drew a light novel. I did a whole bunch of little character designs and stuff for the main characters. And I came up with these 3 individuals, but one of them is important because you may see the little spherical little guy, the little 2 fins, a spherical and a small circle. And I titled it Spirits. This is relevant for later. So that little guy, obviously I never finished the art and stuff like that because you can see a little gray piece over there. But Spirit is the mascot of Project Aurora to this day. I want to do a very, very simplistic character design, just something that anybody can draw. So I just drew, all right, a circle, 2 triangles, boom, that's how you draw Spirit. Anybody can do it, And I was like, okay, this is awesome. I'm gonna start writing, and then I'm like, you know what? This is a lot of work. But the whole premise of it was, because this is a little bit personal, obviously. So I've always I've really had too many friends. I was always the shy guy and stuff like that. I wanted to I don't know, if you remember, just do something that people could kind of notice me instead of just being a little small or the smaller weaker kid and that's kind of nerdy or whatever in the corner, I wanted to be able to leave my mark on something, be remembered. And that was the premise of this whole light novel, being sort of remembered, leaving your forging your legacy, all that sort of stuff. And eventually that translated into Project Aurora, where I was like, hey, so I've been running this campaign in my original Dungeon Master setting for however long, and I got an idea. What if we could have it where Dungeon Masters could kind of affect other games and all that stuff? So then even if, like, you know, Jimmy or whatever, Jimmy played in your campaign, but Jimmy's going to be remembered, his character's going to be remembered for years and years and years upon end. So he's left his mark in some way, shape, or form, whether it was just like, you know, he found an axe, or someone finds his axe in the tavern or whatever, or he becomes a god, yada, yada, yada. But the ability to sort of leave your mark and be like, or show that, hey, I'm able to be important on this grander sort of scale and scheme. Now, obviously, I always sort of preface, living universes, that sort of whole concept and idea, that's been done before. That's fine. But I wanted to mainly do it in a way where it was focusing on giving people that opportunity to be a part of something big, you know? And I know a lot of people they may end up feeling that way, maybe some that don't. That's perfectly fine. But I want to make sure that if I could give someone a way to be able to just be awesome, be a superhero, then hey, D&D can maybe be that medium to do it. And that's kind of why I started Project Aurora.
Kevon, bravo, sir. Bravo. I love that response. I love everything about that. And including, you know, that's, you know, pretty vulnerable of you to talk about that sort of experience in your youth and wanting to make that distinction to stand out. By the way, the art is super cool. I've been showing it here, and I really like what you've done. You have a neat eye with color, and it's got a sort of yeah, that's really awesome. I love this. And then, you know, your philosophy of what to do with the game. You know, this was when I was in high school. We had a group in the high school. It was called the Escapist Society, and you know, the whole idea was that this becomes a means in which to be something, do something else. Maybe you've got stress at home. Maybe you got an issue going on with your parents. Maybe you just broke up with your girlfriend. But then you can pick up an axe and go, you know, bury it 6 inches deep in an orc skull and leap off the side of a cliff and sprout wings, and you know, you can just enjoy all of the elements of the game, which then become very cathartic, I think, in addition to the communication, the team building skills, the fun, the role play. There's just so much about this game that, you know, kind of circling back to where we started, make it a game unlike any other. So let's see. Hold on. The question was, check the Discord for. Yeah, there you go. That link is now pinned up top, so you can check out Project Discord. And we have just a few minutes left here. Robert, any other questions that you had before we start kind of coming down the home stretch?
No, I mean, I was actually, while you were talking, I was peeking at the Discord and going over, and yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot to go through here for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, actually, I do have a question. What do you think? What would you consider the biggest challenge in doing this?
Biggest challenge? Surprisingly, it's not organization. Organization for Project Aurora is actually very, very simplistic and straightforward. I mean, at most, it requires a lot of communication, but I mean, just communicate, talk, make sure everybody's got their stuff together, and you're good to go. My big issue, I would probably say, okay, I got an idea. So it's always, and we're trying to work on it. It's one issue that we can't necessarily solve just through the nature of it. Being able to allow as many people as we possibly can into Project Aurora and be a player in the universe. I mean, there's no secret. There's always going to be more players to, let's say, Dungeon Masters. That's how it is. But obviously, you kind of need a Dungeon Master to run the game, right? So I've always sort of faced that little bit of an issue of how do we get so many people in to be able to like leave their mark or be able to do something, be able to impact the universe in some way, shape, or form. And that's when we started integrating the likes of Twitch stuff with channel points, world building, yada, yada, right? That's been probably my biggest issue. But the more people that we sort of get into the Discord, the more Dungeon Masters, obviously, which means more players, blah, 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 blah. You know how it is.
I love it. I love it. Well, look, as we get ready to wrap up here, I want to just talk about a couple of announcements and things that are upcoming, and then I want to come back to you with just one or two final closing questions. Next week, I have up on the screen right now, we have another amazing guest, very different approach. So this is Courtney. Courtney is Figuratively Speaking Minis, and you can follow her on Instagram, and she is a fantastic painter. There are so many great painters that are already in our community, and Courtney and I have talked off and on for a couple of years. She's delightful and so much fun, and so she's going to be joining us next week for Loremaster's Arcanum, and we'll be talking about her painting styles and techniques and her gaming experiences. And then those of you that have been following this, I mentioned it, it's coming together. I don't know if it's going to be, it'll probably be in March. I'm going to have a very special LMA. I'll let the participants decide the final title, but so far those that I have run this past, they like the title. It's going to be something along the lines of the trials and triumphs of female gamers. I'm going to have Ashlyn, the Dollar Store DM. Courtney has already agreed to be part of this. I've got 2 others that are confirming right now availability. And I think it's going to be a really fun discussion, but also a very hard-hitting discussion about some of the things that female gamers, female cosplayers, and female Dungeons and Dragons players have encountered, things that they deal with in terms of online play, things that they deal with their Instagram accounts, things they deal with other players. And just the more I've talked about that, the more engagement and interest I'm getting from the community. So I think that's going to be a really cool LMA that we're getting planned. We have 2 more coming up after Courtney. We're going to have on the 8th Bill the Master Crafter, he who actually makes Jay's channel great. You thought it was Lord Gazumba. No, it's not Jay. It's Bill that makes Jay's channel great. And as you know, this is part 2 of my 27-part plan to get him to move to Nashville. And so he's going to be on with us on March 8th. And then I have coming up February. Courtney is February. Bill is March 8th. March 1st, I have just got this confirmed today. The North American head of Mantic Games is going to be on with us, Rob. Kyle from Mantic Games. He's their North American head, and he's going to be on with us on March 1st. So we have some amazing guests coming up here in the coming weeks. What am I missing in the chat? I saw you smiling, Rob. Did I miss something?
Oh, I'm just laughing at the idea that anyone would leave New Jersey to go to Nashville.
Okay. Right, because why are they in New Jersey in the first place? That's why you should be laughing. Okay, so
because we like our food.
All right, so explosive. Yes, it's going to be absolutely fantastic. And then, oh my goodness, I'm so excited for my charity stream on that Friday night. I have Richard Baker. The Richard Baker, as I mentioned before. I've got Matt from Feralborn Trading, Matthew from Feralborn Trading. He is super cool, fun guy. I've got Ashlyn, the Dollar Store DM, who's going to be on with us. I have John Fuller, that's Demon Gund. He is the Tailspire Wizard. You've seen him with me before in one-shots. Super fun guy, great personality. And then I have one that I'm still waiting on confirmation. She's checking schedule today, but it's going to be an all-star cast for us on that 17th night, so mark your calendar for that.
Have you decided who your Greyhawk legend in the adventure is going to be?
Greyhawk legend in the, what do you mean?
You know that's what the legends are supposed to be, right? No,
they're just legends of D&D. They don't have to be legends of Greyhawk. I talked to Jay. Okay. No, we organized it. No,
right.
No.
There's a reason why all those shadows are all the famous Greyhawk characters.
Yeah, no, we'll have one, definitely. And I actually haven't even decided what I'm running yet, Rob. I've got like 4 or 5 different ideas that I'm kicking around in my head, and I'm looking forward to it. Then we have our standard streaming schedule. This Sunday will be the first time we're doing our back-to-back streams. So we'll have Tears of Aird, which is my stream in the world of Aird, made by TLG, our Troll Lord Games sponsor. And that is that new group of players. We're going to be in session 9. You talk about what Kevon was mentioning earlier, like new players. Rachel is not necessarily a brand new player. Cameron, not necessarily brand new players, but they've played some D&D. But just to the way that they are responding, the excitement, the engagement they have at the table. It is just so much fun to watch these players. And so that's on Sunday at 1 o'clock Central, followed immediately by Fall of Red Dawn being run by Rory. It'll all be on the Blue Box channel. We'll take like a 2-minute break as we kill here, and Rory kicks off the stream on the same stream key there. So you'll get 6 straight hours of Blue Box streaming on Sunday this week. And then on Tuesday, back to Greyhawk Awakening, we'll have the full crew back. And then, of course, Wednesday with Courtney. So we have a lot of streams and a lot of good stuff happening here. Oh, yes, I forgot the one-shot. I have a one-shot this Saturday. I can't forget. That's my family. So we don't normally do one-shots here, but I have a special one-shot on Saturday, this Saturday, so whatever, 3 days from now. And we're going to be running this. This is the Mantic Games, our sponsor, Terrain Crate and Kings of War. They make these dungeon packs, and this one is called Secrets of Wizard's Tower. So everything that I'll be running in the game on Saturday will be out of this box. It's got the scatter terrain, it's got the battle maps, it's got the module, and it'll show you, if you want to pick these up, how you can run one of these. And then I'll give this box set away at the end of the stream with some of the stuff already painted. So, and Friday Night Crusades. Every Friday night, we have Friday Night Crusades in our Discord. That has been blowing up. It's got like 13 people every week. In fact, Robert, I have the date. I can be in Friday Night Crusades, not this Friday, but a week from Friday. So
that's not, John, I'm not going to be here.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll figure it out at some point.
John sat there. It's like, all right, when's Rob not going to be here?
Yeah, exactly. I got your planner, and I figured out when I could like throw that false commitment out there to you.
But I can confirm that the party is in Hamlet. Last week we had 13 people. We've had 26 different 26 different people play in this game over the year and a half. Actually, we're getting close to 2 years now.
Yeah.
God, that's come up quick.
It is.
But it's 1 year, 8 months. We've had last week we had 12 people. This past Friday we had 13. How many are going to be here this coming Friday? I don't know, but Hamlet will never be the same again.
Oh, is Chuck running it that night though, or is it just not happening?
No. Chuck on the 3rd, when I leave for vacation, Chuck is going to be running it on the 3rd. Then they're going to be off for 2 weeks because he's not able to do it the week after, and then the week after that is the charity stream.
Yes, it is CNC, Greg. We're running Castles and Crusades in that. So, all right. So we're just about up on time, and I want to come back to our amazing guest. And Kevon, again, dude, this has been such a pleasure. You are a very approachable, friendly, affable conversationalist. I have a hard time, I'm sure you get this all the time, imagining you as shy. But clearly that's something.
It's definitely weird. Like I remember, like a lot of things that I started doing, it was because I was bored and angry. I wanted to stop being shy. I was angry that I was shy all the time, so I just forced myself.
And that's where the martial arts make sense too, right?
No, that was actually my mom saying, "Hey, you gotta play a sport, and if you don't play a sport, I don't know, whatever." Right?
Yeah.
And that's how Taekwondo got started.
Oh, by the way, I missed it earlier. Someone suggested making Mom a BBEG in one of your campaigns. Hey, Tim, we already went over the charity game, but I've got it back up again. And yes, I have already mentioned the incredible cast that we have that night for the charity game. And we'll have both a legend as a player and a legend in the game as well. Now, Kevon, last kind of couple of thoughts. What would you like to see next for Project Aurora? Like, what is if you could look forward, let's say 12 months, I don't like going too far, but say 12 to 24 months, what is happening with Project Aurora?
So, with 12 months, because I already got plans. So, for Project Aurora, oh my gosh, all right, let's spill the beans. So, what I'm looking for, because we just started this giant little West Marches project, which is a very, very big factor to a lot of the growth in the Discord and more. And we're actually looking for more and more players. So, hey, if you want to be a part of Project Aurora, by all means, join the Discord. Stay active, get involved, because we're going to be inviting and recruiting more players, I believe, at the end of February or a little bit before then. But yeah. So we have 75 more players jumping on in, and what I'm looking to do is I'm trying to fill up all of Aurora with more and more games, so to allow just many or more people to be able to join in and forge their legacy that way. So we have a planet known as Tahiri that has 75 players and a little bit more than that, and by the end of 12 months, I'm shooting for probably 3 to 5 planets filled up with players, so 615 players for the West Marches thing. We're thinking big. We're thinking definitely big.
Not ambitious, are you?
Yeah, I shoot for the moon and land on the roof. That's the deal. That's my mentality.
I love it.
Yeah, we're looking for that. We're looking to have a lot more YouTube videos, kind of like making Aurora a lot more digestible, because obviously we have 4 years of lore, but how the heck do you figure out those 4 years of lore? Well, we're gonna try to make it in highlight videos, lore videos that are very easily able to get involved and jump on in. So hiring editors, and I doubt if anybody here cares, but we're looking to hopefully by the end of the year, we're gonna try to get that stupid anime opening that we wanted for Project Aurora, an animated opening for PA, all that stuff. I know it's gonna cost a lot, but we have people in the Discord that are willing to throw down for something as ridiculous and ambitious and involved as that, and I want to get that going.
I love it.
Freaking awesome.
And that is I love that you said that, because that's been one of the most gratifying things to me. We have a fond moniker for our community in the chat. They call them the Mad Chatters. We've got a little icon for the Mad Chatters. And you talk about where I like to send money back is pouring it back into the community, into the streams, into the mods, the people that help support what we do, the con. So like the con that people are coming to, we do a food truck, we do all the games, we host it at our place, we'll have pizza, and it's like $10 to go, right? So I mean, we're like, we lose our shirts on this stuff. I've flown people in for these events and whatnot, and it's just, we give back in that fashion, and it's what's really cool is when you see people in the community wanting to do that. So we have someone that's actually helped someone else get here before. We have people that do free artwork, fan art, fan writing. We'll co-DM. Robert volunteers his time every Wednesday to sit here and take abuse from me. And I think it's because he's under the strong delusion that he gives as good as he gets. Oh, John.
One of these years we will put you out to pasture, and
Rob, you're gonna have to find a better takedown since we're the same age. That doesn't really work.
No, you will forever be older than me, John. Forever.
When we're talking our age, it doesn't matter. We got a guy here who's 23, right?
22.
20. I'm sorry, I aged you. The guy here is 22, living the dream. Kevon, it's been a pleasure. So, one, I'd love, maybe sometime later this year, there's so much more I wanted to talk to you about. I'd love to have you back on if schedule allows. But more than that, I really want to game with you. So we'll have some other charity streams and things. Maybe one of these days we can have you on the channel. And I think, you'd have a great time playing with some of the Mad Chatters. And as a DM, it's sometimes fun to be able to run. So,
yeah.
But whatever we can do to support what you're doing, we got people already that are popping in your Discord, and let's keep this channel of communication open. I like being with cool creators, people with innovative ideas. I love what you're doing with Project Aurora, and just know that you have friends here at Blue Box.
Heck yeah, and you have friends over at Project Aurora. More friends, more fun.
Very good. All right, so as we close, there's the question. Now, I'll give you the short key. It's if you're not following, if you're not subbing, or if you've allowed your subs to expire. Now, you can dramatize that in whatever fashion you want, but it all has to lead up to the question, what are you doing? All right, Kevon, bring us home.
Oh, gosh. So, if you're just sort of going around just average, Wednesday night, and, you're looking around and you want to figure out a way to be able to support BlueBoxRPG, your favorite little Twitch stream in this TTRPG space. You look around and you're like, oh man, how can I do it? Oh, well, maybe I can join everybody else in gifting the likes of a sub, a Twitch Prime sub, or even a sub to be able to support the channel. Because if you're not doing that, then hey, what are you doing?
And so, as Kevon said, we have one question for you tonight. Kevon, what are you doing? Come on, give us a follow, give us a sub, as he said. Give that Twitch Prime. It's free, for crying out loud. Give sub. Check out my good friend over at Project Aurora. Be with us on Saturday for the one-shot. Be with us Sunday for double-backed streams. Be with us next week for Courtney, Greyhawk Awakening. Good times here. Thank you for the new follow. You did it, Key. You got us another follower. Well done.
Oh, that's Sean.
Oh, yes, it's your friend. So Black Maniac.
Talking about. So that's Black Man Inc. That's Sean.
Oh, Black Man Inc. Okay, sorry.
Turtle that I was talking about earlier.
Oh, okay, that's a turtle. All right, very nice. And Bluebird. So thank you for all of you that have followed us. You can check us out on our website as well. Our Discord is geared a little bit differently, but also a fun place, very community oriented there. And any of you that want to check that out, and we'll definitely be following the success and engagement with Kevon and his fantastic project Aurora. We're going to raid into Lord Gazumba here, but Kevon, I'm going to give you the final word.
Oh gosh, what should I say? What should I do? Oh no. Just close this out.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So I would say I mentioned this earlier in the stream. There are 2 ways to be able to win TTRPGs. Trust me, believe me. This is how you do it. Number 1, you're gonna need to make sure you and all of your players are having fun. Number 2, you need to make sure that you and all your players are comfortable to express themselves. If you're not doing number 2, then you're not going to be able to have number 1, which is to have fun. And we're playing a game at the end of the day, so let's just have fun.
I love it. Words to live by, my friend. And so now we're going to kick off the raid with Jay. I want to say one last thank you to Kevon. And as always, I want to thank my co-host, Rob, who has done a phenomenal job tonight, as always, with just a few errors in judgment. These lapses are to be expected with his aging synapses. We also
John, I have to let you talk. I mean, we can't have the stream if you're not going to talk.
I don't think either one of us talked much tonight. Kevon kind of ran the show. But I want to say thank you to all the Mad Chatters, all the support. You guys are awesome. And we'll see you Saturday morning right here. Blue Box signing out. Hey.